Hello, friends, and welcome to episode number 120 of Nostalgia Talk, the first Nostalgia Talk show of the year 2016. That's right, I said what I said. Forget about 2026. Screw that. We don't have to worry about that for another 10 years. In all seriousness, welcome to the first show of the year. I'm James. To start off, first of all, I hope that you guys had a great Christmas and or Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, Festivus if you're a Seinfeld fan, whatever it is that you guys celebrate. I don't think I have anything to hide when I say that 2025 was definitely a very emotional year. And if you're a friend listening to this or a family member listening to this, then you definitely know that. I've talked about it before, we had to put down our dog, Waverly, after my companion of 10 years. And that was very hard. But then 3 weeks later, we get the puppy, Pip, which filled the Waverly-shaped hole in my heart. And then in between that, I was getting all of this film work, just really climbing up the ladder. Now I'm actually making a documentary right now, and I can't talk about it, but that's coming along incredibly well. And to my friends and family who have been very supportive of the whole thing, man, I heard from everybody. Everybody I know has reached out to say this is so awesome. I'm so happy that you're doing this. I'm happy to be doing it too. Not to make it all about myself, but no, it's a dream come true for me to be doing this, and a great way to kick off the new year. And we at Nostalgia Talk, and by we I mean myself as the host and you guys as the listeners, we at Nostalgia Talk are kicking off the year with a very special guest. Please welcome Jocelyn Stevenson. Good to see you.
Thank you, James. And also, congratulations on the work you're doing, the paid work you're doing.
Mm-hmm. It still feels incredibly surreal. Like when I got asked, can you make this project? I felt like I had just woken up. I was like pinching myself. I was like, ow, ow,
No,
ow,
no. First you say
ow.
yes, then you say ow.
They can't see me. I'm like, ow, ow. Okay, this is real. And I wrote back, yes, I will make your film.
Yes, yes, yes.
No, it's gonna be awesome. It looks great. Yeah, so for anybody who doesn't know, sorry about the long intro, but for anybody who doesn't know, Jocelyn is a writer who's mostly best known for her work in children's television, most specifically as one of the main writers for Fraggle Rock and the Magic School Bus. She worked on Sesame Street, Rubbadubbers, Thomas the Tank Engine, Pingu, and Barney, and she also authored books from a lot of these franchises as well.
That's true. All of
Mm-hmm.
that is true. Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, to kick things off, how did you first become interested in writing? Was that like something you always wanted to do?
No, actually. Um, no, I was interested in originally I was going to be a doctor. That's where I came from, a family of doctors. When I went to university, I went to Stanford, and
Oh, wow. That's a
why?
that's a great university.
Yeah, it is a great
Yeah,
university. Very
my best friend's brother went there.
well, it was very interesting because I went 100,652 years ago, and it was a very interesting time to be in university in the late 60s, early 70s, and so yeah, so I went to Stanford thinking I was going to do pre med stuff, and then got interested in psychology. And it was also at a time when all this stuff about free schools and what are our kids learning, and all this was fomenting at the time. Summerhill, the school here in Britain that had been started, all based on, you know, child-centered education. And I was really interested in all that. And I was walking around the beautiful campus, Stanford. I was walking around the campus, and it was a voice came into my head and said, if you want to change the world, start with kids. And from that moment, that has been like my guiding principle ever since. So I stopped. I concentrated. I gave up the idea of pre med, concentrated on psychology, did child psychology, and then ended up. I got to get to writing, don't I? Okay, so I'll try not to do this. Ended up.
Oh, we got time. Keep going.
Ended.
I don't have to be at the studio for another few days, so.
You can edit out if it's too. Ended up oh yes, teaching in a day in a well, helping to start a daycare center in Menlo Park, California, after I left Stanford, and it was there that I was, and that it was a great center. And we had male teachers, which wasn't the thing in those days for young kids, and it was brilliant because a lot of the kids that came were from single parent families, blah blah, and but it was also this school. The community helped a lot, and the teachers, every teacher did everything. So this particular day, I was the last one in, and I was sweeping the floor, and the kids were I put on the TV, which we didn't do regularly, but Sesame Street was on. I'd never seen it. It was early days of Sesame Street, right?
Okay.
I tell you, that floor did not get swept. I was like the kids. I had never seen any. It was like, whoa, they are doing for 9 million kids what we're trying to do for 30. The idea of using television in that way, I just hadn't thought about it. It didn't occur to me. And it was get me to New York.
Hmm.
So I eventually ended up going to New York. And I got a job working on the, well, I eventually got a job. Perseverance is what it takes. Working on the
Yeah.
Sesame Street magazine, I got a job to begin with as a secretary. Great, blessing my mother for making or suggesting that I learn to type, because in those days it was typewriters. It wasn't
I
computers.
was gonna say,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was typewriters, and I took the job as a secretary to the publisher, and and you know within about 2 weeks I was the assistant editor on the magazine. No increase in pay, obviously, but it was there. It was I was in there, and you could see where help was needed, and it was working on the Sesame Street magazine that I started to write, because it was interesting to me, and it was possible, and I would write these little poems, and I helped write stories. So that's
Poems
where
for
it started.
are you talking about poems for the magazine?
Yeah, for the magazine.
Because I
Yeah.
have some Sesame Street magazines here from the 2000s, from when I was a kid. We kind of collected them, and my brain is like, did they do poems then? And is that just something that kind of stuck all these years?
I don't know, but because this was back in the 70s.
Hmm.
Yeah, so we're talking a long time ago. And yeah, we did little poems and had beautiful illustration, all that. But that was where it started. So I never
Nice.
thought I'm going to be a writer. I thought there it was, and it's like, oh, why don't I try to do this? So, and the same thing happened when um when we were doing Fraggle Rock, because I'd only worked when there were five of us that were working together: Jim Henson, Jerry Jewell, Michael Frith, Duncan Kenworthy, and myself. We were the sort of like original team that was charged with discovering. We didn't create it; we discovered it. I'm very adamant about. We would all be adamant about that. Discovering Fraggle Rock, and I remember saying, and I'd been working on the Sesame Street magazine, and I'd been working on small books for kids and things, and so it was sort of thought, what, well, maybe you'll do books for Fraggle Rock. And then I remember saying to Jerry Jill, could I please try to write a script? I'd really like to try to write. And he said, because he knew my work with books and the books and Muppet books and things I'd done. He said, "Well, you understand character. That's the best thing. So yeah, sure. The rest of it is skill, craft, learning how learning how to write scripts." And so and I asked Jim too, Jim Henson. I said, would it be all right if I wrote on was one of the writers on Fraggle Rock? And he said, because he was an enlightened boss, he said, yeah, and if that doesn't work out, you can do the publishing. So it was like win-win. And yeah,
I love
and
that
then
he encouraged you, but he knew what you like. He knew your competence level prior to that.
yeah, no, it was great. It was like, whoa. And I wasn't much older than you at that point. And so it was a fantastic sort of thing to be able to be doing. Well, I was a little bit, but being able to do so early in one's career, and working with Jerry Jewell as my mentor, creative mentor, not to
Yeah,
mention.
I was going to ask you about Jerry Jewell because a lot of us, when we think about the Muppets, we think as fans, a lot of the time I feel like we think a lot about the performers. You've got Jim Henson, Frank Oz, Jerry Nelson, Richard Hunt, Dave Gold, Steve Whitmire, Louise Gold, Kevin Clash. Those are the ones who are entertaining us by performing these characters and being so funny. But really, a lot of that credit, I think, should go to a lot of the writers. And there truly is no Muppet Show or Fraggle Rock without Jerry Jewell, and I feel like that
I'm
gets
so
kind of
glad to hear
under
you.
yeah, I feel like that gets kind of underlooked. That's something I was talking to Larry about. And speaking of, by the way, if our previous guest and friend Larry Merkin is listening,
Woo!
thank you very much for connecting me with Jocelyn. I should have said that at the intro.
Well done, Larry.
Had a lot to cover, but thank you, Larry, for that. Um, but I actually did a little bit of a tribute to Jerry Jewell
Oh, good.
last year with Mike Peterson,
Yeah.
one of the puppeteers on Fraggle Rock,
Yep. Yep.
who was guest number one actually.
Was he?
hmm
Oh,
And Craig Shemin, who's I don't know if you know
I
Craig.
know who Craig is. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we did a little Jerry Jewell tribute video
Oh, good. Because he
to kind of
deserved. I mean, he's yeah,
yeah
he deserved.
yeah that's something that not many people think about is the writers. They're the true ones making us laugh, I think.
A couple Muppet Show writers stories. I didn't write on the Muppet Show,
Right? Yeah.
but I was around, and so I would Don Hinckley was one of the writers on the Muppet Show, and he would hold up a dictionary and said, "It's all in here. We just have to put it in the right order." And then the other thing was wa- watching takes. So they'd have a feed into the writer's office, and they'd watch what the performers were doing, and sometimes the response would be, "Well, it was funny when it left this room." But but Jerry Jewell was working with Jim and Frank before any of this. I mean,
Oh yeah.
he was, as you know, I don't have to tell you this, but I agree with you. It gets overlooked, and from my point of view, he was just a major creative mentor, and so he was the head writer obviously on the Muppet Show, right? But on Fraggle Rock,
hmm
and and he wanted it not to have all just children's writers. He wanted to, so there was B.P. Nichol, who was a poet, and there were different types of people, playwrights, David Young, people that weren't kids TV people necessarily, because he wanted he just wanted that range of writing ability, I guess. And he himself wasn't a kids TV writer either. He was Muppet Show writer. Um,
Yeah, that's one of the crazy things because like I know from Craig that Jerry Jewell wrote a lot of early Sesame Street.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Okay, he wrote one of the funniest bits ever on Sesame Street.
well, which
Do you
one?
know the one when Ernie and Bert are fishing? Here, fishy, fishy, fishy,
That's
fishy.
a Jerry Jewell script?
Oh, it's my favorite
I didn't
because
I didn't know that.
it's
Wow.
so perfectly, it's hilarious, but it's about loud and soft, isn't it?
hmm
And it's just this genius way of talking about loud and soft. And
Now that I think about it, it does sound like a Jerry Jewell script because of the ending too, where Bert's trying, but he's not. Bert not being loud enough. That oh
yeah,
god, I
yeah,
I,
no,
I remember
that's not
one
loud
bit.
enough. Let
Yeah, I
me
remember.
try.
Yeah, I remember one bit where Ernie actually tried to intentionally piss off Bert to break some news to him so that he wouldn't get pissed off afterwards. Um, so finally, Bert's yell is big enough to bring in a shark who just goes, "You cooled?"
Well, you know the same bit. It's very nice, James.
hmm
Somebody who was so well versed. Yeah, that was a Jerry Jewell. But you're right. He did write on Sesame Street. Absolutely.
Yeah,
But he,
which of
so
course
he,
was a kid's show, and Sesame
yeah,
Street
but they
kind
didn't
of.
think of it that way.
I guess that's fair because
Yeah.
they're
They,
writing for
they,
they're writing for themselves. Yeah.
they're writing for the kids and they, yeah, exactly. And it
hmm
was, yeah. And they all worked. I mean, they were such a team anyway, Frank and Jim and Jerry. Um, and making loud and soft funny, but also yeah, effective. Um, yes. So he would also, as a head writer, I learned a lot from him too, because he would tell you that he liked the type you'd used on a script before he told you anything bad about it. I mean, you knew you were in trouble if he's saying he likes the paper clips, right? But still, it was still his. He
I don't
always
even know if I'd call that constructive criticism. I
he
don't even
always
consider that criticism.
he always said something nice, is what I'm saying,
Hmm.
before, he always found the good stuff to tell you, instead of, I don't know, you in your life, you will come the people that look at something and they just tell you, yeah, this really doesn't work, whatever. I mean, he might have been talking about a script that didn't work, but he started by not making you feel so demotivated that you wanted to kill yourself. And I remember one particular time on a script where he just said that joke you put, it's so funny. And I said, yeah, Jerry, it was your joke. That was he you gave me that joke. And it was, I mean, he just didn't have ego invested in it, you know. It was really, he was really a most powerful person, powerful mentor, and I learned a lot from him.
That's great. Talking about a lot of the time when I talk to people who've been involved in the Muppets, I do like to talk about not to be morbid, but some Muppet people who are not with us anymore. But of course, the big name in all of that is Jim Henson. Do you remember the first time that you ever met Jim?
Oh God, yeah.
Okay.
You've got another story. Okay, yes. So I was an assistant editor on the Sesame Street magazine.
Hmm.
And so we're at CTW, and that was on near Lincoln Center on the west side of town. The Henson organization was on the right side. I'm on the right side, on the east side, and in those days, Jim himself, we would carry mechanicals. Do you know what I mean by that?
Mechanical
Instead,
puppets?
no,
Oh.
mechanicals of the publication. So it
Oh,
was
damn.
everything on boards, right? Because it
Hmm.
wasn't computers. It wasn't. So you, and it was all the artwork and everything
I mean, I
was
guess it would have been harder to send it than it's like, oh God.
yeah, everything was put on and then we put tracing paper over the top. And Jim himself, Mr. Jim Henson, this was pre Muppet Show, would would look at, would correct, or just it was quality control, would look at every Muppet that we had represented, because there were a bunch of different artists that were doing the art for Sesame Street magazine, and he'd correct it, or make suggestions. So then that was the job of a managing editor, of the managing editor of the magazine, a really beautiful woman called Brenda. And she would hoik these things across town when it was time to get the magazine approved. And this particular day, it was absolutely pissing with rain. And Brenda had beautiful hair and she always wore beautiful clothes, and she did not want to go out in the rain. I, on the other hand, I'll go. So that's another one of those situations. You opportunity knocks, you open the door. And so I said, I'll go. So in those days, I was wearing bell bottom jeans, big, big. Do you know what I mean by that?
Oh
It's
yeah,
okay. Bell
disco
bottom
jeans.
bell bottom jeans. And we wrap up the mechanicals, and I'm gonna set off to go across town, two buses, whatever it was, in the pissing rain. I get to the Henson building on East 69th Street, whatever it was, or 67th. And okay, up I go and at this point the water in my jeans had wicked up to my knee.
Oh
So I'm
yikes.
absolutely soaking. And Jim his office had a big wooden door, and the door swung open, and I was told where to wait outside, and so I did. And the door swung open, and there was Jim sitting behind his desk. And I swear we were friends from that, because I was like this drowned rat, and he saw the humor in everything. And from then on, that was the first time I met Jim, and he was lovely. He was an amazing person to work with. And yeah, so I always remember that, because I'm going to meet the great Jim. Yeah, well, the great Jim Henson was Mr. Approachable. It was fantastic. He was really, yeah, and funny, always
No.
funny.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My favorite Jim Henson story I've ever heard was he was doing a bit with Kermit and Bob McGrath,
Yep,
with an actual living frog.
yeah,
So Bob's like perched up on the wall. It was in those limbo sets that they like for
yep,
Sesame Street.
yep,
While Kermit's sitting on the wall and
yep.
Jim is holding him up. And with the frog, like he's got the frog over Jim, and the frog starts peeing on him. And he kept right on going.
Of course,
And
pro. He was a pro.
in the bit, Bob's actually like, Kermit, are you okay?
I've never heard that story. That's a good one.
Hmm.
Have you heard the story about Frank Oz doing Bert lying on the floor because he's working with kids? And he was talking to the kid, and kids don't, they don't
I
see
mean, I've
that.
heard stories about him doing that with Grover, but not with
I think it
Bert.
was Bert. I think it was Bert. He
Okay.
said to this child, he said, "Do you see that man down there? Can you take your foot off his nose?"
At least in the case of Bert's nose, you can take it off and he won't feel a thing.
Aha, nose, the man's nose.
Yeah.
And yeah, and my favorite with kids and puppets was my son, Freddie, my eldest son. He was 2 years old the first day the 2 years old. Yeah, 2 years old. That's right. The first day we shot Fraggle Rock, so he was
Mhm.
really young all that time. And his favorite character was Gobo. So Jerry Nelson, Freddie came to the set, and Jerry Nelson was there. He brought Gobo over because he knew Freddie loved Gobo, and so Freddie's standing there talking to Gobo. Jerry's right there, and so they're talking, and then Freddie turns to Jerry and says, "Why don't you let him talk for himself?" and and oh, I never seen Jerry speechless before that, but he just didn't know quite what to say. So
What?
that's how good these puppeteers are.
Yeah, one of the writers for I heard this story from one of the writers for Sesame Street who brought their kid, and Jerry was there doing the count that day,
Right, same thing.
and kept looking at Jerry, looking at the count, looking at Jerry, probably like, is that the count's bodyguard or something? I don't know.
What is this? Yeah.
But I'm glad you brought up Jerry Nelson. Because I feel like on Fraggle Rock, that was Jerry's most major character. I mean, the Count was a main character on Sesame Street, but not like a hugely central character in the way that Big Bird, Oscar, Grover, Cookie Monster, Bert, Ernie, Elmo kind of are. So Jerry definitely would have, I feel like, spent quite a lot of time on Fraggle Rock, playing the de facto leader of the Fraggle Five. What was Jerry like?
Oh, Jerry. Jerry was wonderful. He was talented. He was also scary because if he didn't want to do something or, he was tired or whatever, off he went. But
Yeah, I've heard about that with him doing Snuffleupagus, that it screwed up his
yeah.
back.
Oh yeah, that screwed up his back. No, I
Mhm.
mean it just was hard work, Fraggle Rock, but he was great. But he was also just he was such a good singer. He was so
Mhm.
musical too. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I mean, he was funny. He was,
Well, have
he
you ever
was.
heard his album talking about how musical he was?
Oh yeah, I have, yeah.
Yeah, I have it on my phone
Oh,
actually.
I would be surprised if you didn't.
No, I it's nice to listen to.
Oh yeah, no, and he was great. That was very sad when he went.
And of course, another big part of the Muppets, who unfortunately is no longer with us. And I did a tribute video to him as well, Richard Hunt.
Oh yeah,
And Richard, in addition to being a performer on Fraggle Rock, had some pretty big contributions directing the show as well some of the time,
yep,
in addition to playing the somewhat antagonistic Junior Gorg. Uh, that's how I kind of always thought of him, chasing the Fraggles.
yeah.
What was Richard like?
What was Richard like? Um, I knew Richard really pretty well because I knew him from the Sesame Street days, and
Okay.
well, I knew the others, but I don't know. When Richard and we I just really we got on. I really and he worked with me on the Ghost of Fafner Hall,
Yeah,
and
that's a show that I don't think gets a lot of credit.
doesn't get enough. But it
Yeah.
was it was and that was fun. And he was the wild impresario, and
That's
he
how you pronounce that. I was
yeah.
talking when I did my tribute video to him last summer. I had Louise Gold on here, and we did talk about that show. I was like, I don't know how the hell to pronounce that, but his
That's okay.
character on that show.
The wild impresario. He and Louise and Richard were great friends,
Oh
and
yeah,
yeah, and yeah, and he knew my kid. My kids remember him. He was just a great friend, and but and he could bring together a studio like nobody else could, just because he immediately would come and he knew everybody's names, all of the camera people, everybody in the room. He was yeah, he was really generous and outgoing like that. But he could also be a pain, I have to tell you, when he didn't want to do something, um, or he disagreed. On Fraggle Goes to Fafner Hall, there were a few times when we disagreed, but then it only made it all better once you figured it all out.
hmm.
But that
What?
was really, I mean, he went way too young.
Agreed. I agree.
So
So, did you have? I ask this question a lot when it comes to writers for these shows, especially for shows that are so impactful for us fans. Did you have a favorite character on Fraggle Rock to write for?
yeah, okay, this is interesting because it came up the other day with Warwick, you know Brett Warwick, Brownlee. He's a
Warwick Brownlow Pike?
yeah,
Yeah, I like him. He's cool.
yeah. Well, he sent me a little well, I can't, it doesn't matter because you can only see it, nobody, but he sent me a little um Cantus that he'd made because he knew that Cantus was one of my favorites. And the reason, well, was because I developed Cantus. He was in the
I was just
Minstrel.
about to ask that. Yeah.
He was in the Minstrels, which was my first, what I felt like my first proper Fraggle Rock script, where I really felt, okay, I get this. I stopped calling up Jerry Jewell saying, Jerry, what's a two shot? I remember doing that. And he's, and you know, he said, Jocelyn, it's a shot with two people in it. I'm like, "Doy." And so it was that. I mean, that's how
I
when I
mean,
was
that was
writing.
enough to not get you fired.
Yeah, no, but then when I was first writing, I was getting overwhelmed with the terminology and thinking I had to know all this stuff. No. It was, and that script, The Minstrels, when I first really got the sort of whose story is it, what is the goal, what do they learn, what is the risk, and what do they learn, which were four questions that Jerry said instituted for all of us writers at the time for story structure, and we also were doing three-act structure and all this, and I writing that script, I got it. It was a Red Fraggle script. Of course, Red is near and dear to me. And then, yeah, the Minstrels and Cantus performed by Jim Henson. And how, come on, James, when you get your character that you create performed by Jim Henson like that, oh my God, it was just magic. And he just made everything that whole sort of there are no rules and those are the rules. That whole sort of
There
Zen.
are no rules, and those are the rules.
Yes, those are, thank you. I don't do voices or accents very well, but never mind.
That's okay.
He,
I was hearing Jim in my head after you
and
said it,
then
and
you
I was
got,
like, oh,
yeah,
yeah.
oh, and he got all that. He got that perfectly, and it was just really fun. And he was a dopey character, dopey, but also deeply wise, obviously.
Yeah, I did a retrospective last year for Fraggle Rock's 40th anniversary for this show actually, and I posted it on the day. My favorite Fraggle Rock episodes. I just picked out 10. It wasn't a countdown. It's not like I like this one more. I like this one more. No, it was
Right.
just 10 that I thought were funny. The Minstrels was in that list, and I had to watch these episodes to know what I was gonna say. It had been a while since I watched some of them, but I felt like Cantus was Jim. Like that was Jim being Jim. Because, like, convincing John, his other character, he's a lot like Jim's Guy Smiley character, just going crazy. I was talking to one of my relatives about that recently. That when Jim did Guy Smiley and convincing John, he just went like nuts. Cantus was that calm Jim
Exactly.
personality, a very
Very.
Zen kind of thing.
Yep, very exactly. And
Hmm.
it was so much fun working with him on. So I've always loved Cantus. Um, Another one of my favorite shows though is Scared Silly. Do you know that one?
I
Where
saw it listed on IMDb as I was researching for this, actually.
and that I love that the because that came from that was like psychodrama. All during Fraggle Rock, Davy Golds and Steve Whitmire would just try to scare me. They would they would do scares, not just for me, but
I know Steve, and that sounds
yep.
exactly like him. That kind of
And
jokester
they'd
personality.
yeah, and you'd just be innocently coming out of the loo, something out of the bathroom or something, say for instance, and then they jump, somebody would jump out at you.
It's crazy thinking of Dave Goles like that because Wembley was so fun and playful, and that was Steve bringing that. Dave Goles as Boober, just be like,
You need to see Scared Silly. It
okay,
comes from that, and it comes. You've just nailed it. You've just
okay,
nailed what sort of was at the center of that particular episode. But
okay.
it came out of this. Um, it came out of this terror
Hmm.
that they inflicted on everybody, scaring people. It
Well,
was
in that
torture.
Well, in that retrospective, I didn't know what writers wrote what episodes when I wrote it, and so researching for this, I actually found that you wrote quite a few, including the one I put at number one, Boober's Dream.
All right.
Can't
Oh,
step up, can't step down, can't step anywhere in this town. I don't friggin' remember the next line. Everybody's doing it. Boober's Dream.
but side bottom, right?
Yeah, okay, yeah. Now I'm
The
seeing Dave Goelz as a prankster
the
with
side,
Boober.
yeah, the side of Boober that
That's
Boober,
always on the
the
bottom,
side
so
of
I call
Boober
myself Side Bottom.
that he keeps on the bottom, and
Hmm.
that name came from there was a company um, that that had trucks here in the UK, and
Hmm.
I would be driving around with my family back in the day, and I saw this side bottom. And I said, "Side bottom? That's a weird thing to call, a company." And my hubby at the time, my hubby said, "It's not side bottom, it's city bottom." And I thought that was so funny.
That'd be an
And
even
so,
funnier name for that character.
but side bottom had, and Dave has definitely he's both. I know Dave quite well, and he's both Boober and side bottom. And to create, again, it was working on that with Dave. That was, thank you for reminding me. That was also real highlight. It was so much.
That episode was actually the first Fraggle Rock episode I ever watched. I got a DVD of it as a gift, either birthday or Christmas. I don't remember. I don't remember. They're 3 months apart, but that DVD was included on it. Other episodes I mentioned in that retrospective that you wrote, "Let the Water Run," because I love that song that they all do to kind of get the water going. Please, water run.
Right,
Please, water
and the pipe
run.
bangers, right? The pipe bangers.
Yes.
I'm amazed I'm remembering this because sometimes people will say episodes to me. It's like, did I write that? I mean,
That's
so
the and yeah, and that's the funny thing. Like a lot of the time, I get people who want to know, like, do they remember, like, with voice actors especially, do they remember saying this line in this? I'm like, they're not getting paid to remember; they're getting paid to work. They're gonna move on to the next thing. Um, but the other episode that I brought up in that retrospective, "I Want to Be You," where Red is
and
like,
Moki.
yeah, where Red's like, oh, everybody's so focused on Moki, and they're even though they're best friends. I I can relate because I was a nerd growing up, and so I was like the lone Muppet fan among my friend groups a lot of the time. Uh,
Oh,
Um, but a lot of us are still friends now, which is nice, and I know most of them are listening to this. Um, but Red's all like trying to get everybody interested in her activities. Moki had just finished this poem, and they're like, "Oh, Moki's a good poet," and of course, Red's things end up hurting herself at the end. So they didn't want to see that.
yeah, they had an interesting relationship. Yeah, but I mean, it's the relationship we all have with people we know.
Hmm.
Yeah, they each one of the characters was, when you think of that group of five, how fantastic are they?
Yeah.
It really, well, and the fact that it's, I mean, what a, I don't know, tribute, or it says a lot that, it's been, now it's back again, it's on Apple. We did
Yeah.
two new
Yeah. Yeah.
seasons.
Sorry?
I said that we did two new seasons of it, and you're thinking, whoa, this is something we didn't know back then if it was even going to catch on at all.
Hmm.
It was, yeah, really, it's sort of, and it says a lot about the property, not about us. It says a lot about what we tapped into with Fraggle Rock, I
Mm.
think.
And
You?
what has it been like to be a part of the reboot? Because I love it. It's
Oh,
so
good.
vibrant.
Oh,
Like,
I'll tell you. I'll tell you. It was absolutely, I loved being asked to be in the writer's room. Okay, so I live in the UK, as you know,
mhm.
and the writer's room was in LA. This was, nobody's flying back and forth. So I started my workday at 6 o'clock at night, my time, not my happy place. Because it would be, that's when that was what, 10 in the morning their time. And so being in the writer's room was hard. But and the first season they asked me to be in for the first 3 weeks. I guess it was just to see how it would go, and then when write one of the first scripts. So that was, I was honored. It was great. And then after 3 weeks, I was out of the writers' room, and then the second season came along, and Matt and Alex asked me to be in the writer's room for the full 20 weeks. And that was like huge honor. Because I got to tell you, James, I felt it was an amazing writer's room. I loved it. I'd never worked in a proper American writer's room before, and where you work on the whole script together. I'd never done that. And it was so much fun. Though sometimes, you know, they would be they would be working on they'd work on jokes, and everybody was so funny, and they work on these jokes, and I'm on Zoom, we're all on Zoom, and they, and every now and then, old, grumpy person in the background, i.e. me, the, the essence
Give
checker,
yourself more credit.
old, the old school, I'd have to go, guys, why are you concentrating on this joke from Moki? This is a Wembley story, and we haven't seen him for 2 scenes. And then instead of saying, "Oh, what do you know, you old," they said, "Yeah, you know what? You're right."
Yeah,
And
because you
so,
worked on the original, so you know the characters.
well, they guess that, and also it was story structure too. It
Hmm.
was having a main character and all that, which we were very keen. It was very strong on the original Fraggle Rock, and so that was one of the things I felt I brought to the room. And then to be asked to be there for the entire 20 weeks the second time, that meant I got to work on every single script, and that was. I mean, it was just fantastic. I wrote only one, but we all worked on everybody's scripts, right? I loved it so much. And the
I
thing
love
I
that little collaboration there.
Oh, it was great. I love collaborating. I love that. And but at the end, I felt at the end, I just thought, oh my God, we have gone with this series with places we would never have imagined when we were originally discovering the show. Never ever the places where we went with that second series where we took people parts of the rock, characters you meet, but it's still Fraggle Rock.
Oh
And
yeah.
really got me. I thought, whoa, that's something for a what do you want to call it? I don't want to call it, it's bigger than for a story. It's a story world. It's not an IP, you know what I mean? But for a story world to have that kind of flexibility and expansiveness to contain all this, but also all knew what it was. And it was all the people, all the writers, they knew what it was. And Johnny Tartaglia, have you talked to him?
Not on the show, but I do have his autograph.
Yeah, because Johnny is really the force of nature behind all
Oh
of this.
yeah.
Was he was amazing, and he'd loved Fraggle Rock from when he was a kid, so it was like in the
Oh
DNA.
yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't. It's meaning that you didn't come with all these writers who came from other things and all. None of them tried to change it to be anything other than it was. They all just came in to contribute. Am I making any sense in what I'm saying?
Oh,
Because
100%. Yeah. Like I
'cause
love John Tartaglia's passion for it, and it
I just felt
shows.
I just felt the whole thing that we were as writers able to take it so far away from where you would have ever imagined it. But it was still the rock, it was still Fraggle Rock. Yeah, how cool.
Mm.
And I love the new Doc. I think she's great. It's just
Yeah. I remember actually thinking, how are they going to bring back some of these characters? Because those Gorg puppets are probably deteriorated and
yeah,
impossible to make.
they had to redesign them.
Hmm.
But it's how where they took the Gorgs, hello, and this whole relationship with Junior and Gobo and all that. And boy, does Johnny do a good Gobo, right?
Oh yeah. Phenomenal.
I know.
When the
Oh,
first season of the new Fraggle Rock premiered, I love telling this. My friends were betting on each other how long it would take me to finish it.
yeah,
Some
but
were
all of us were worried.
some were
All
betting
of
the
us,
whole day. I was like, it'll probably just take me the whole weekend. Took me the day.
the day, yeah. All of us who'd worked on it were worried that people like you might just think, no, oh no, what have they done? That was I mean, I didn't think that was going to happen, but you never know. And so I'm really happy to hear
Yeah,
that.
no, it was a big day in our house. I'm like, nobody bother me other than an outing I had to go on later that day. I had to run a quick little errand, but I'm like, other than that, nobody bother me.
You're the reason this all works, that we've done it all. Thank you.
My pleasure as a
Yeah.
fan. You also worked a little bit on Sesame Street as well as a writer.
Oh, yeah. I did.
Mhm. Yeah.
I actually got an Emmy as a part of the Sesame Street writing team.
Nice.
I tried to say to the Emmy people, no, 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 I was only part. Yes, but you get an Emmy. You were part of the team.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, uh, then that was harder in some ways because well, I'd been working on the magazine for ages,
Hmm.
and so I think I was working on the show remotely, and I found that really difficult. It didn't, I only did a season or two, and it wasn't, and you can't when you're not there, and there was no Zoom, in those
Yeah.
days.
So did you like? Because
There was no
I'm
Zoom.
friends with Norman Stiles. So did
Oh,
you?
I love Norman.
He came
Yeah,
back for the Richard tribute as well.
he did.
Did you like do an audition with him?
He knew me from, he knew me
Oh,
from,
okay.
yeah, he knew me from CTW because we'd been, and I'd been on the set and everything for ages, wandering around as part of the Sesame Street magazine. And so, yeah, he knew me. Judy Freudberg, I knew, I knew these people, but Norman was, I think there was one script I wrote, and I really felt like I was writing, you know, it wasn't the kind of I didn't get the collaboration I need for the kind of writing I do.
Hmm.
And I just remember one script that I don't know where I went with it. It was Big Bird. I can't remember what it was, but Norman saying to me, I was just wondering what you were on when you wrote this script.
I think I know the one you're talking about. Is that the one with Big Bird and Snuffy where I think they were showing like a cow or something?
I don't know.
Because I saw on Muppet Wiki you were credited for having written an episode that fits that description.
Well, that's fine. Could have been because I've totally blocked it out of my mind what it was.
Well, you actually wrote one of my favorite bits from that I remember from when I was a kid. Bert learning how to imitate a tuba from Simon Soundman and totally screwing it up.
There you go. That
Yeah.
sounds like my kind of. Well, that's the Jerry Jules sense of humor anyway. So
Hmm.
that's what we
And
got on so well.
finally, there's some kind of noise, and Bert's like, "Oh, nailed it!" And then Gladys the cow comes in. "Oh, where's that bull who's calling me?" Simon knew it was a bull. He's like, "Oh, right over there." Bert's like, "No, that wasn't a bull. That was a tuba." No, it wasn't. You're not fooling anyone, Bert.
Oh, thank you for credit. If I did write it, I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, totally one of my favorites. Um, Another popular Muppet project you did, which I'm actually considering doing a retrospective on, because I like to do seasonal retrospectives, and we've got Easter happening in a couple of months. Tale of the Bunny
Ooh,
Picnic.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, so how did that come about?
The Tale of the Bunny Picnic. Okay. That was a fantastic opportunity that I had that Jim was going to give me to do something that was a little bit longer than Fraggle Rock. So it was going to be it was a special, right? So
Mhm.
45 minutes or whatever it was. And so, I would, and he and Cheryl had been, everybody, I'm sure you've all heard this story. If you've seen I think he says there's an introductory bit on the DVD where I think Jim introduces
I
it.
actually don't have the DVD.
Oh, right. Okay. So he said they were walking to Hampstead Heath and they saw, no, okay, you're writing a script, so I'd love to hear what you think about this. Okay, so they saw this bunch of bunnies because it was sort of twilight, and then as they were watching, a dog ran in, and all the bunnies dispersed, and they'd said, "Oh, what if the bunnies were having a picnic?" That was the idea. They came to me, and Jim said, "No, no, that's a." So yeah, I was
You know what?
starting.
It kind of reminds me of this bit from Sesame Street with Bert and Ernie, where Ernie gets this telephone call, and Bert's like listening in on it, like you can't hear
Yeah,
the other end of the call, but Bert's reacting, and Ernie's like, "Oh, well, this morning you went on a picnic and the weather was great. Oh, wow, and that made you really happy. Well, I'd be happy thinking about it. Oh no, but then it started to rain. Oh, I'd be sad too.
oh,
Oh, but then you saw what? You saw a grill?" And you were surprised, and he ate your peanut butter sandwich, and you were angry. Oh, I'd be angry
emotion
too. Yeah, exactly.
in my. That's good.
And
Well,
Bert's like, oh, and Bert's like, you gotta tell me who that was. I don't know. It was the wrong number.
that
Anyway,
is
Tale of the
that
Bunny Picnic. Sorry.
Okay, but so yes, so that was the idea. Okay, so I was working like I'm also pregnant with my third kid with Tom.
Hmm.
So I'm working like a crazy person, want to get a script done uh, to give to Jim as quickly as I could. Well, certainly before basically I was going to be mom duty again, and so I'm literally James, literally working on this script when I'm in labor And
Ooh.
Duncan Kenworthy was working with me. We were working. Okay, so I hand in the script, and Jim waits, and to Jim, and then Jim waits until um, uh, I was sort of settled with baby Tom, and he calls me up because he wants to talk about the script, and he says to me, "I didn't like it, but I don't know why." And
Jim
so,
said that.
yep. So I'm like, okay, now what do I do with this? Absolutely, new mom, hormones, everything, but oh, nope, deep breath. So I said to him, "Do you have the script in front of you?" And he said, "Yeah, of course I do." And I said, "Okay, let's start on page one. Let's go through it." Okay, so did you like the beginning? Did you like how I did it? Oh yeah, yeah, I really liked that. And what about blah? As we worked along it, there was a lot more that he liked that he didn't know he liked. And so, because he was a visual guy, he wasn't a script guy so much, right? So he was, so, so then as I went through, I mean, he was right about a lot of things I didn't connect up and all this kind of thing. But in the end, as I said, there was more that he liked than he didn't like. I determined what those things were, and I went back and rewrote it, and it was a gabillion times better than the first script anyway.
Hmm.
I like rewriting, um, and and then that's another one of my favorite Jim characters was Dog, the dog. Oh, bark, bark, bark.
The
His
dialogue's very simple. Bark, 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 bark.
I know.
I
Oh,
can hear
oh.
Jim doing it. Bark, bark,
Yeah, I
bark.
know. It was great. And so yeah, that was, and then I mean, it was so just the performances. It was so much, and the music, hop, hop, hop. It was, and I get people still now who say to me, not not as much as Fraggle Rock, but I get people saying, "Oh, that was my favorite show when I was a kid," and I wore out the whatever the DVD or the, and so yeah, it was one of my favorites too in the end. It really was because it was the first longer form thing I'd done. And I thought it all held together and it was great. And then, and it was working with all those Lugsy, Richard Hunt,
Yeah.
Stevie, Bean Bunny.
Yeah, and Bean Bunny, he basically grew as a character. Like he was a main player in Muppet Vision 3D.
Yes, that's true. That's right. He
Um,
did, didn't he?
until recently, we haven't heard a lot of Bean Bunny. I don't know if you know this, but they recast him now, and they brought him back for some social media videos.
Did they? Oh, no,
Hmm.
see, I didn't know any of that. But also,
I'll send them to you. It's played by a good friend of this podcast actually, and of mine, Bradley Freeman, who's
all right.
he's one of the newer puppeteers on Sesame Street.
Yeah.
He worked on the Muppets Mayhem, the Disney Plus show, and he did the Muppet Show reboot special that's premiering in a couple of weeks on ABC.
You know so much.
Yeah,
But
and he's
also one
also
of my,
doing Rizzo as well. Like I saw a Rizzo video, I was like, "That's Steve? No way."
yeah. Um, But there's my favorite line ever was Lou Gold as Mother Bunny, Mama Mother Bunny, I guess it was, when she said, "Nobody ever said being a bunny would be easy," and I loved that, and I loved how Lou delivered it too.
Was it ad-libbed?
No, 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 it was in
Okay.
there, but Louise is consummate actress. She did it
Oh yeah,
beautifully.
she's hilarious.
And no, she's great, and a good friend too.
Hmm.
Um,
Same.
so yeah.
Same.
So yeah, that the bunny picnic was really fun, and Ron Muick working on the bunny picnic as a as a puppeteer too. That was interesting. You know who Ron Muick is?
I know the name.
Yeah, Ron Muick, but he's a huge sculptor. I mean, that's where his fame is. And the big boy that was sitting in the middle of the Millennium Dome, the big sculpture of the no, anyway, he did all that.
I was thinking of
But
Star Trek or Star Wars for a second when you said Millennium Dome.
oh, yeah, right, okay, fair enough.
Hmm.
Yes, you would not have had any awareness of the Millennium Dome. Um, yeah, but he worked on that. I mean, it was just a really interesting bunch of people. Jim directed it, and it was really, and I just think I love it. I think it looks great.
Hmm. So moving on from the Muppets, as I said, another one of your big contributions to TV was as one of the main writers on the Magic School Bus.
Oh yeah, I love
And
that.
we watched that in science class all the time. Um,
Yay!
it's funny. I saw yesterday actually a couple of Magic School Bus memes. One was The magic school bus could be inside of your lower intestine right now, and you would have no idea. The other one was a video someone made. The caption was "Mrs. Frizzle gets fired," and it's like, so we've had parents send in some complaints, and apparently you're taking too many field trips. And a lot of these kids have a lot of trauma of these field trips. We're only allowed 2 field trips, maybe to a museum or to go for ice cream, but these don't sound like very safe places.
That's hilarious.
So, yeah, we would watch the Magic School Bus in science class a lot. Even going into high school, we would watch it.
As you should.
Yeah,
As
I
you
mean,
should.
I know it was a PBS kids show. Um, so was Bill Nye the Science Guy. We watched that all the way into graduating high school as well. What was it like working on that show? Because that's a little bit different from Fraggle Rock, and
Oh yeah.
you worked one season on Sesame Street, which was a very educational show, and now you're one of the main writers for a while on this educational show.
Yeah. So what happened? What was interesting for me about that was bringing in 3 act story structure
Hmm.
to the story. So to the stories we were doing on the Magic School Bus, but making the science be what we call the learn. Okay. So because the 4 questions were always what, whose story is it? What is their goal?
Hmm.
What's the risk? And what do they learn? And so, and usually it's an emotional thing, but to be able to work in so that the science is somehow contributes or is what they learn, that was, it was really hard to do.
When you say what they learn, are you talking about the viewers or
No, no,
Miss
no, the
Frizzle's
character in the
students?
story, the
Okay, because I
character
was
in
gonna say they probably have a lot of emotional trauma from what they've learned.
the characters in the story, because then the kids learn too, you know.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, so because you're invested in the character, that's the whole point of it.
Right.
Yeah, and so
Unless you're Ralphie and it's like, oh, can we just go somewhere normal for once?
yeah, but that he had his part to play.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, so this it was that was really a collaborative effort, all of us working on and working with the science team too, and because you we would learn things like the science, because we would get these Bibles from the science team. We called them the science Bibles, which told us what they wanted us to cover in any particular topic. And the topic had to be, we learned, had to be active. That couldn't be, for instance, big one, big sort of epiphany for me was water. It can't be, the water cycle is what, and I was given, that was, if there was a, that was one of the Magic School Bus topics. I was just based on the books because they were all based on Bruce Deegan and Joanna Cole's books.
Right.
Uh, and so, and they had one that was about water, with about the water cycle. And so then, and so I was like, how do we make this active? So you can't, there's going to be jeopardy, and well, how do we do this? And I saw a National Geographic article with the headline, water never stops moving. So then it's like, okay, the Magic School Bus kids get stuck in the water cycle.
Oh,
So
I remember
then you,
this now.
so then you have, you have an act, they have to get out of it. They have to figure out what to, so then it becomes active. Just as an example of something, the way we learned how what the science team had to give us too. It was real collaboration. It was fantastic. I loved it. One of my favorite jobs. Yeah.
Yeah. And
And really to hear from people like you now. Oh no, since, okay, so we rebooted the Magic School Bus for Netflix.
I saw. Did I watch that? I must have. I
Magic,
think I watched it with my little cousins once.
yes, Magic School Bus.
They live
I
out in
love it.
Montreal. They wanted to watch him as a school bus. I think it was CGI. Now I was like, no, this isn't the Magic School Bus. This.
No, it was different. But anyway,
Yeah.
but so I was working on that with the team, and but now when you had your science, there's a thing called the science and entertainment exchange or whatever. I forget science. I forget exactly what it is, but it's a group of scientists. It's a database of scientists that are willing to volunteer their time to make sure that the science in things, movies, anything, kid stuff, is right, right. And so we would contact these guys, and then you could say, okay, I want to I want a scientist who knows something about plant communication, somebody who knows about, I don't know, microbes, blah blah, whatever, you know. And then we'd be given, those of us working on the different scripts would be teamed up with a scientist that would be looking at, read drafts for us and things. And I'm telling you, 9 times, literally 9 times out of 10, these scientists would say, "Oh, the Magic School Bus. I'm a scientist because of the Magic School Bus."
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you, that was
Yeah,
all.
I loved science because of all these shows, Bill Nye the Science Guy and the
Yeah,
Magic School Bus. When I was a kid, when I was in fifth grade and sixth grade, I was always so eager, and in high school too, I was always so eager for science class.
yeah, you.
Not just because we would watch it. That's secondary to me.
You need to read my book that I've done now,
Oh, nice.
The Waterubas.
Okay.
You know anything about this? Okay, I'll send you. Don't have to. I don't mean to turn this into a PR
No,
message.
we'll plug it. Let's plug it, yeah.
Yeah, the Waterubas, because it comes out of just it's about a young girl who discovers she can turn into water, and she meets these characters. They are not creatures who live in water, they are water. So in the glass of water, you see just a glass of water and suddenly a Wateruba will. And the artwork, which I've got them all up here to show you because you can see, the artwork is Brian Froud. You know who I mean by
I
Brian?
do, yep.
Yes. Okay. And so it's 2 novels for 9 to 12-year-olds. I'd actually love you to read it because if you like that, you like science, but it's also exciting
Well,
and
I'll
it
put
has
if anyone else wants to read it, I'll put a link in the description if you want to order it
it's
if I can find it.
you're in America, right? So it's on
I'm in Canada.
in Canada, so it's Amazon.ca.
All
It's on
right,
Amazon.
cool.
Okay.
Link in the description.
And and so what do you want? Do you plug in the description? What do you mean? Would you want me to
No,
read
I'm
it?
gonna put the link in the
Oh, you're gonna
description
put
of
it
this
in. Okay.
video,
Okay, love. Thank you, my love.
just in case
Because
anybody wants to see it for themselves.
that's been my big third act heart project, and it's come out of all my 50 years of working with the Henson Company. Has come out of the Magic School Bus, in particular those things, and because it's as Jim would say, it's goofiness in the service of truth. So yeah, sorry to segue into that, but it did,
Ah,
but
don't
it
worry.
relates
That was interesting.
but also, yeah, I have a little PR company that's helping me. They'd be annoyed if I hadn't done that. So there.
All right, well, shout out to them.
Yes.
And of course, with the Magic School Bus, I mentioned Miss Frizzle, which of course is the big thing we all remember about that show, who was voiced by the one and only Lily Tomlin.
That's right.
Did you have any interaction with her at all?
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
Not a lot because I
Okay.
wasn't in the voice records,
Right.
but I did a special. We did a special. I think it was a Halloween special, and I was there for the voice record, and got to spend time with her, and she was wonderful. It was so nice to meet her. I mean, I was starstruck.
I
And she'd
bet.
also
Yeah.
she'd also worked on Sesame Street, but I mean, never met her through that or anything,
Hmm.
so she was just very keen on and supportive of all the work that Henson Company did, and then I this wasn't Henson Company, obviously it was the Magic School Bus, but she
Right.
had that sort of things like this for kids, um, and in fact I've got a signed picture of her saying, you know what? Hang on, I'm standing
That's
up.
cool.
Okay, I've done it
It's a
says,
little blurry, but I can see a
it
little bit of
says,
it.
Jocelyn, thank you for such good writing. The Frizz so admires excellence in the universe. Love, Lily.
Aw.
Now that,
P.S. Seatbelts, everyone.
yes. But Kate McKinnon was also really fun to work with. I met her
Oh,
over.
nice.
Yes. And she said to all of us, I've always wanted to play the Frizz. Now, how gorgeous is that of somebody like her to say that? No,
Wow.
she was great to work with. Yeah. And she did a really nice job for that, the reboot.
Hmm.
Um, or continuation, whatever you want, the
Yeah.
Netflix.
Yeah. I say reboot.
Yeah.
Um. a lot of the kids, you were talking about focusing on just one kid per episode, which leads to really, really good storylines for that one kid and for the Frizz. And I can't believe I just called her the Frizz, but for the Frizz and the rest of them too, because of their personalities and the stuff that they were into. I'm of course thinking of the one where Ralphie was sick, and so the field trip was morbidly inside of him. And he's watching it on TV because they have their camera hooked up to it. Um, and he's like, oh, like, very weirded out by that. I would be too. Did you have a favorite character on that show to write for?
That's a good question because I really like them all. They
Okay.
all had their they all had their strengths, you know. Yeah, that's a really good. I've never thought about a favorite character on the Magic School Bus because I like them all.
Okay.
I don't,
Mine, mine, mine was Wanda when I was a
I
kid.
like Wanda a lot,
I don't know why.
but then Phoebe was they were interesting. It was
Phoebe
really fun.
reminds me of Velma from Scooby Doo.
Oh, right. But the characters originally came from the books, and
Right.
we obviously shaped them out. And
Mhm.
Kristen Laskus Martin, have you met her?
I have
Kristen,
not. No.
right. So Kristen was the producer, and she did an amazing job bringing the whole thing together and bringing on Nelvana, who did the animation at that time, and then yeah, and the reboot. The guy who was our animation was when on the animation team for the original series, a guy called Vince Camiso, is now the CEO of Nine Story,
Nice.
which if you're in Canada.
Hmm.
Yeah, nice. And it was Nine Story that was doing the reboot for Netflix because it came because of a conversation he had with one of the Netflix executives, and he called me up, and I hadn't heard from him in ages, and he called me up and said, "What are you doing now?" It's like, why?
You want a job?
Why? He said, because I was just wondering if you'd want to be involved in a reboot of it. And I have to say, after the words reboot, I thought, oh, because when I worked with Hit, we rebooted Bob the Builder, we rebooted Angelina Ballerina, we rebooted Barney. It's like I'd done reboots, right? But then he said the magic words, the magic school bus. And I said,
Literally magic
and
words.
I know. And I said, that those are the only words you could have said, which would make me go, yeah, I'll do that. So, yeah, it was fun.
Hmm. And Pingu and Barney and Thomas and Angelina Ballerina and all these other cool things as well. Do you find that it's funny? I was talking on a dog walk yesterday with my grandfather and his neighbors. I was talking about doing this. I brought up Pingu, and his neighbor was like, I kind of remember Pingu. I was like, yeah, Penguin who just went. And
Good
but but
imitation.
but do you find that writing for puppets versus writing for animation comes with its own challenges? And let me be a little bit more specific. The puppets you can physically see and touch, which really does make for something when it comes to thinking about how a puppeteer moves. And by that I mean like with Jim Henson, like when he does Kermit, he'll tend to point a direction and emphasize where his hand is going. With Jerry Nelson, with the Count, his hands are they move around a lot. But with animation, they're drawings. And so
Or
you real
in Pingu and Bob the Builder, it's stop motion.
stop motion, yeah.
So the answer to that is yes. There is
Okay.
a specific. You have to keep all of that in mind,
Mhm.
and it's different for puppets than it is for stop motion, than it is for 2D animation, than it is for 3D animation.
Because
All
it's
those
real. Because
things.
I feel like in scripts, it's really, really important. Like for when a character is going to react to something, especially. I screwed up the name, by the way. It wasn't Ralphie. It was Arnold, who would often be like, "Oh,
Yes, it
please
was
let this
Arnold.
be a real field trip,"
Yeah.
and you'd have to kind of emphasize. Is he rolling his eyes when he says it? Because usually he does, because he's sick of all these weird adventures they go on.
Yeah. So you have to be able to write that in, and also know the limitations of the form,
Mhm.
and which of course are becoming less and less limiting, especially when you get into. But then it's like then you get the added thing if you're writing or even producing or both producing and writing is the cost of it. and how that influences what the decisions you make. But the big question always is when you're working on animation, puppets, is why isn't this live? If could we do this as live action? Because if we could,
I feel like
why?
it would be hard for a live action penguin's beak to extend
Yeah,
when it
no,
knows
but
it's in
that's the whole
trouble.
point.
Yeah,
If we're
I,
doing,
I
but
know.
that's sometimes you look at animated series, animated things, and you think, why is this animation? It's not the animation part of it isn't contributing anything to the story or making it, you know what I'm saying? And the same, it's less with puppets because it's harder with puppets to accept still, why isn't this just people? And so I think that's an important question when you're writing stuff to keep in mind. You know, if this could be just live action, why am I doing it like this, right?
Mhm.
So, and then use the form
Mhm.
to.
And especially now in the world of big budget special effects, like when it comes to the Magic School Bus shrinking itself down.
Yeah, you have to. Well, Magic School Bus, obviously. If you're going to go inside of somebody's body, that's not going to be live action, is it?
That would be hard.
So the Incredible Journey didn't that isn't that kind of thing, but that would be different. Let's put it that
Hmm.
way.
Well, I feel like I have a school bus crawling all around my arms. No, I don't.
No, you don't.
Well, well, that's all I've got here. Is there anything you want to say to wrap up?
No, I just really enjoyed talking to you, and I can't emphasize enough how much we, and I'm sure I'm talking about all the people I've worked with over the years, appreciate someone like you, someone with the kind of attention you pay to what we do, your fandom, your enthusiasm. Honestly, James, it's great. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Jocelyn. Thank you for coming on the show. First one of the year.
My pleasure.
And let me be a little bit more specific, actually. The new and improved Nostalgia Talk. And by that, I mean, I had to get all new technology. And this is really the first time around actually using it. Hopefully, it sounds good. I'll just let the listeners be the judge of that. To anyone listening, you guys know where to go for news of Nostalgia Talk. Yeah, yeah, you do know where to go. And you know why? You know where to go? I keep bringing it up. Links to social media are in the description: Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky. This is just the beginning. I can't guarantee how often it's going to be this year, but I'm looking forward to what the future holds for 2026. After a very trying last 2 years, at least on my end, let's make 2026 the year. This is your night, dancing free until the morning light, together forever. Let's make that the anthem for 2026. So I will see you next time. Peace out.